Welcome back, guys, to this final video for this section. All right, I think this section is actually the longest section. We've actually had so many things to learn in the form section, and we've had so many videos already. So I believe this should be the last of them all, and we've seen quite a lot already. So in this, I'll just be showing us, a few other form properties that are essential that we probably should. I just feel we should know, not compulsory, but they're just important things. All right, the first of them I'll be showing us is autofocus. Now, autofocus is when you add autofocus attribute to an element or to an input. Autofocus. All right, this is it here. Autofocus simply means that when the page is reloaded, there will be a special focus on that particular element. Now, I've added autofocus to this full name. I refresh and look at what happens. Can you see that the border is bolded? There's more focus on that element. So I'm going to add that autofocus to something else. Let me add it to another element. Let me add it to the email autofocus. It comes with VS Code. Just save. And you see that this time around, even without clicking on official email, the focus will be on it. Can you see it is clicked by itself and the border is bolded? Just like what happens when this only happens when I click others. Can you see when I click others, that happens also? When I click password, it is also bolded. When I click on yes, it is bolded and then the cursor is set to it. When I click this as well, but when you refresh, by default, this one is the focus is on it. That is the work of autofocus. So I'm going to remove that. Another thing I think we should know is the no validate. The no validate. All right, the no validate attribute. What it simply means is it's an attribute that we add to the opening tag of the form. So what it simply means is, all right, no validate. I save. It simply means that I don't want any form of form validation. Already we've added a few form validation. For instance, in the full name inputs, we added it's required. In about all of them, we have required. So if I try to submit, let me remove this for now. If I try to submit, of course, I've done that before anyway. If I try to submit without adding something here or the email or even the years of experience, it won't allow the browser will not allow me to submit. Why? Because we've already added a required attribute. So that is I'm sure that is something I've done before and it's not new to us. So for instance, I just drop a comment here and okay, fine. I entered if name, I didn't enter password, I didn't enter email, and I tried to submit. Just watch what is going to happen. Can you see? It's telling me please fill out this field. Now, even if I try to fill out this field and then I submit, it's telling me that I need to have more than 6 characters. Can you see? So it's normal. Let me submit again. It goes to the next line. It's telling me I have to let me see. Okay, sorry. Let me check. The third one is official email, I believe. All right. Let me try to submit again. All right. Please fill out this field. Okay. Now, if I add something, can you see, even without completion, it's already telling me, please include an @ symbol in the email address. Let me bring that out again. So if I try to submit, it won't even allow me until I add an @ symbol. Let me now add an @ symbol and try to submit. Can you see? It said, please enter a path following the @ symbol. That is @ dot. Okay, let me do that again so we can see it properly. Dot. It now give you an instance. GUGU @ is incomplete. So it expects us to add something after it. So I can now say at yahoo.com. Now, if I try to submit it to accept, but there is a required attribute here. Please fill out this field. If I try to enter 10, for instance, remember that we had a minimum of 1, maximum of 5, I think. Let me try to submit. Can you see? Value must be less than or equal to 5. So now I have 5, and then I think I can submit properly now. So there is no issues whatsoever. It's already loading, and it's going to send the data to the back end. That is our fake server, which we added to the form. All right, now what is the no validate attribute? The no validate attribute just simply cancels all forms of form validation that we've added there before. I'm going to add it to the opening tag of the form element. Can you see no validate? I save. Now, let me go back, refresh our browser. All right, back to this. Let me reload the browser. Everything is emptied out. Before, if I try to submit things, it won't allow me now. But now I'm just going to drop a comment here. I won't add anything in the name, password. But if I submit, I will submit successfully. So what the no validate attribute does is to cancel all forms of validation that is on that form, client side validation, which I don't think it's essential. I don't know why anyone wants to actually use the no validate. So I've shown us the no validate and the autofocus. Another one is again is the content editable. There's what we call content editable. Now I'm going to add a div here to the top so we can see it. It helps you to be able to you can add text to your browser, and users can actually edit every text we've added to the browser. It is always nobody edits it, but then look at, I'm going to add this text. Now I've added a lorem ipsum text. I save it. Normally we're going to have the usual. I refresh. Can you see it is just there? You can't, nobody ever is able to edit anything on the browser. But then we have this attribute that comes. This is not necessarily a part of forms, but it's just one of those HTML attributes that I have not mentioned so far. So inside the opening tag of the div, now I'm going to add the content editable. Can you see? And I set it to true. If I save now, something unusual that I'm sure you've hardly seen is going to happen. I refresh, and then let me click here. Can you see when I click on it, it comes with a border, and now I can actually remove things. I can remove all the contents. Let me see. Okay, the content is quite long, so let me add my own content removed, and then okay. So can you see I've changed that? So it's actually used for whatever it is used for. You can use it for anything you like, but the point is it makes the content of that particular text editable by the user. So that is that for that. All right, what else have I not shown us? Okay, there's also this one we call draggable. Let me use this same div for an instance. Okay, let me first refresh the browser so that we could have the default. All right, this is the default now. We have the draggable attributes. Can you see draggable? When you set the draggable attribute of an HTML element rather to true, it means that this, I'm sure you've probably seen it on sites whereby you can long press and try to drag it. So let me refresh. Normally, okay, just for you to be sure that it's not a coincidence, I'm going to have another div below, and with the same content. Now inside the paragraph I have the lorem ipsum. All right, but this one does not have the draggable attributes, but the first one has the draggable attributes. I save. Remember, the first one has content editable set to true and draggable set to true. Now it's this true. It's more like a JavaScript language. We call it Boolean in JavaScript, but it's not something you should worry about. It just comes with HTML. You can just set it and it will work for you. You don't need to know JavaScript to use this one. All right, so let me refresh. Now look at the first one. If I click on it, I can't edit. I'm trying to, but I can't edit. Another thing again, look at, I'm going to left click and try to drag. Instead of dragging it, just highlighting it. But look at this one now. I'm going to, okay, I can edit, fine, which is one part of it. And then, okay, maybe this is not best for what I want to use it for. Because, okay, first of all, I believe we already see the content editable. All right, now let me remove that content editable because both of them are not looking friendly with each other. So I'm going to remove the content editable and leave only the draggable attributes on that div for the sake of this example. Now I set it to true. It's still on true. Let's refresh again. Now I can you see now that, can you see what I'm doing? I believe you can see my browser. I can drag that left and right. If you try to drag any other thing, look at what happens. It doesn't drag. Nothing will ever, you can never drag any of them. It's not possible. Can you see? It's only a light. But this one, I can left click and move my mouse. So you also should probably try. You can try it, or rather, you should try it. It's just nothing much, but I think it just gives you this fancy effect. And then I'm sure you've probably seen some kind of site whereby you can drag something and put somewhere else. Yeah, all right. This is one of those functions that makes that happen. The content editable attributes. All right. We also have one, we call it pattern. It's a pattern is a form validation attribute, but I won't talk about that. You can read that on the docs on MDN if you so wish. And finally, we have the valid and invalid attributes. But this one is not like every other. You don't add it to the HTML. It comes with CSS. Now, okay, let me move this final divs. We don't need them. Thank you. All right, so back to our normal form. We have everything as it was before. Let me refresh the page. We have our form validation set in place. Now I can decide to write a CSS style. Let me just let me do an inline style. I know you don't know about CSS for now, but just let me just make an illustration. Okay, for all inputs, valid. All right, for all inputs that are valid, what do I even, okay, for all inputs that are valid, yeah, border should be set to 2 pixel solid black. All right, not just that are valid, that are also for all inputs that are valid and focus when it is focused upon. All right, focus. All right, so for any of the inputs, what this means is any input tag that I focus on, if it is valid, it's going to give me a black border. But then if it is not valid, it's going to give me a red border, more like a warning. I'm sure you've probably seen that on site before. So this one is invalid, and I'm going to change the border to red. It's something you've obviously seen very well. All right, I'm trying to just rush and round up this last video, but I don't want to add any extra video. All right, so this is just a little CSS style that you should not bother about for now. You understand all of this when you get to the CSS class. So what this means is if a user clicks on a particular form input, if whatever the user enters is valid, it would have this black background and black border. If it is not valid, it will have this red background. So I'm going to refresh, and then look at this one. Now when I click on it, well, it doesn't even have any, I don't think we have any form validation except for required. Now let me click on this. Okay, I'm not having what I want. Okay, just for the sake of this illustration, let me not go into something deep that would probably confuse you. Let me just remove the focus for now and save. I just want to prove a point to show that you can actually do more styles. Everything is right now invalid. When I enter something in this, it is validated. If I click on this and I probably enter something, let me see, trying to submit, can you see this one is valid? So it is black. This one is not valid because I don't have an @ symbol. Once I enter the @ symbol and I put g.com, it also becomes valid. So this is, can you see, they are both valid, they are black, while the ones that are not valid are red, and that's because of the styles I wrote to it. All right, so these are just most of the validations, both form validations and also general validations. That does not mean there are no other kinds of attributes that needs to be learned. You can always come to mdn.com, consult the docs. There are quite a lot of things that I've not mentioned that you will definitely find here. All right, so I hope you understand the idea behind form validation now. Thank you very much. It's been a long form section. See you in the next and final video section.